Due to that, we will not have service tonight. Next Sunday morning, we will have Brotherhood Breakfast cooking at 7, eating at 8. Brother Roger Little will be with us. On your announcement sheet here, it says that we will have an in-depth Bible study on October the 7th. Make a correction to that. It will be the 14th due to some things out of our control. So that will be the 14th. The time will be the same, and Brother Keith Burnett will be with us that day. October the 20th, we have a singing featuring the Interstate Quartet at 6 o'clock. Also not on here, October the 31st, that is Halloween night, we'll be having a trunk or treat from 5 to 7 p.m. There is a sign-up sheet at the back foyer for that. If we do not have enough people sign up, enough families sign up, we will not have that. So if you're interested, please sign up as soon as possible so that we will know that we have enough people interested. Brother David asked me to announce that there's a singing tonight at Harmony at 6 o'clock featuring Phil Sexton. That is Harmony Church close to Langston Gap. 3rd, 4th, 5th grade Sunday school parents, if you have a child in 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade that attends Sunday school, please meet up here as soon as service is over. Brother Jason needs to meet with you. Let's see, I had a couple more. On the back foyer, there is sign-ups for Pee Wee football games. I checked this morning. There's no one signed up for the October 12th game. That's a ministry that we do at the Pee Wee football games. So please look into that if that's something you think you could help out with. Maybe that was all, because there was quite a few. Is there anything that I missed that someone has a special announcement about? All right, thank you so much.
want y'all to be praying, because it is our privilege this morning to have Brother Dakota Warren with us to bring the message here in just a little while for Youth Sunday. We're excited about that. And y'all probably don't hear this enough, but we're proud of our youth here at Guest Baptist Church. Amen. God's going to do some big things through them. I believe that with all my heart, and I just want y'all to know we're proud. If y'all would stand to your feet, love on somebody, tell them you're glad they're here.
Jesus said it was expedient for me to go away, but I send you another comforter to guide you day to day. So they tarried in Jerusalem for power from on high. That same Spirit that they received in my heart of mine, I can feel His Holy Spirit dwelling deep within. Well, sometimes it feels so gentle, and sometimes like a mighty rushing wind. But that same Spirit that raised Jesus up from death and from the grave, it shall raise His old body up and take me home someday. Oh, they laid Him in an empty tomb and rolled the big old stone at the door. They put soldiers there to guard it. Oh, they thought they'd done away with my Lord. On the third day, the stoners rolled away, and He came forth from the grave. It shall raise His old body up and take me home someday.
Sound asleep and too afraid of what might show up while you're dreaming. Nobody sees you. Nobody will believe you. And every day you try to pick up all the pieces, all the memories, they somehow never leave you. Nobody sees you. Nobody will believe you. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows. There's a kind of love that there's a kind of love. You keep a cover over every single secret, so afraid if someone saw them they would leave. But somebody sees you. Somebody will never leave you. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows. There's a kind of love that there's a kind of love. There's a kind of love that there's a kind of love. For the lonely, for the ashamed, the misunderstood and the ones to blame. What if we could start over? We could start over. We could start over. Oh, for the lonely, for the ashamed, misunderstood and the ones to blame. What if we could start over? We could start over. We could start over. There's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows where to find you. God only knows how to break through. God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows.
Yes, I must be reaping from the seeds that I have sown. Lord, you owe me nothing. We haven't spoken for so long. But if you could spare some mercy, I'll pledge my life to thee. I'm too unworthy, Lord, to come to you. Could you please come down to me? I know that there are others who can offer more than I. I promise you I'd understand if for me you had no time. I think I've just hit bottom, and I'm looking up to see. I'm too unworthy, Lord, to come to you. Could you please come down to me? I think I've just hit bottom, and I'm looking up to see. I'm too unworthy, Lord, to come to you. Could you please come down to me? There ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. There ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. When I hear that trumpet sound, gonna get up, gonna get up, gonna get up out of that ground, 'cause there ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. Go down yonder, Gabriel, put your foot on the land and see, but don't you blow that trumpet until you hear from me. I look way over yonder, what do you think I see? I see a band of angels, Lord, coming after me. Well, there ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. There ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. When I hear that trumpet sound, gonna get up, gonna get up, gonna get up out of that ground, 'cause there ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. Take me out to the graveyard and lay my body down, but on that resurrection morning I'm coming out of the ground. Meet me, Jesus, meet me in the middle of the air. I'm gonna rise to meet my Lord, gonna say goodbye down here. Well, there ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. There ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. when I hear that trumpet sound. Gonna get up, gonna get up, gonna get up out of that ground, 'cause there ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. Why you ever chose me has always been a mystery. All my life I've been told I belong at the end of the line with all the other not quites, with all that never get it right. But it turns out they're the ones you were looking for all this time. 'Cause I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody all about somebody who saved my soul. Ever since you rescued me, you gave my heart a song to sing. I'm living for the world to see, nobody but Jesus. I'm living for the world to see, nobody but Jesus. Moses had stage fright, and David brought a rock to a sword fight. You picked 12 outsiders nobody would have chosen, and you changed the world. The moral of the story is everybody's got a purpose. So when I hear that devil start talking to me saying, who do you think you are? I say, I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody all about somebody who saved my soul. And ever since you rescued me, you gave my heart a song to sing. I'm living for the world to see, nobody but Jesus. I'm living for the world to see, nobody but Jesus.
We go down, down, down in history as another blood-bought, faithful member of the family. And if they all forget my name, well, that's fine with me. I'm living for the world to see, nobody but Jesus. So let me go down, down, down in history as another blood-bought, faithful member of the family. And if they all forget my name, well, that's fine with me. I'm living for the world to see, nobody but Jesus.
I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody all about somebody who saved my soul. And ever since you rescued me, you gave my heart a song to sing. I'm living for the world to see, nobody but Jesus. I'm living for the world to see, nobody but Jesus. I'm living for the world to see, nobody but Jesus.
Good morning. Is this thing turned on? I guess so. Y'all can hear me all right. All right. Well, I'm not very good at opening things. Y'all should see me open a can of beans at home. It's the biggest mess ever. So I'm just going to jump right into it. First off, I'm glad to be here this morning. Thank you so much for inviting me to come. Y'all have an awesome youth program. I see you at school. I go to school with just about every one of you, I'm sure. I say it's great to be here this morning. Well, we're here in the Deep South, so I know this is an easy question, but who likes biscuits? Amen. Yeah, I see y'all. I like some biscuits too. Y'all ever made biscuits, homemade biscuits? That's the good stuff right there. Jack's is good, but then you got homemade biscuits. Some of the things you got to put in the biscuit, though, you got your buttermilk, you got lard. Y'all know what lard is. Yeah. Some young people might not know. I hope maybe y'all do, but y'all know what lard is. And then you got flour. Some people might, but y'all drink buttermilk by itself? No. When I was about 6 years old, I thought I was 10 foot tall and nothing could come on me. My uncle said, "Here, try this milk. Yeah, you'll like it. It's buttermilk. It's flavored like butter." I was like, "Oh, yeah," because I used to eat butter by the spoon. Just, why not? I was a kid. I said, "Oh, yeah, it's going to be good tasting butter." That was some rough stuff. Then you got flour. Lord, no, you don't eat flour by itself. You choke to death. And lard, if you eat lard by itself, and I'll tip my hat to you. You're a bigger man than I am. But when you take all those nasty, awful things, plus some others, you put it in, you stick it in the fire for a little while, you leave it there, you let it get nice and golden brown on the top, you pull it out, you got some of the best food you could ever eat. You take some gravy, But whenever and life hands me buttermilk, I say, "I don't want no buttermilk." I throw it away. Life will turn around and hand me a cup of flour, and I say, "I don't want to eat no flour. Get that away from me." Life hands me lard, I just throw it straight on the ground. I don't want lard. It's kind of like a bigger picture of when life hands you lemons, you don't just eat the sour stuff. You turn around and make lemonade. Sometimes we're going through life. That's what I want to talk to you guys about, is when you got some rough things coming your way, maybe you're not just getting each individual ingredient. We need to look at all the things that the Lord's handing us all at once and say, what we can make and turn into our biscuit in life. Amen. Most of the time, in my experience, and several others I know, whenever we're having tough times in life, it always seems like it's going to get its absolute worst, like that envelope's going to get pushed right to the edge right before it falls. And right before it goes off, the Lord will pull us back and He'll save us and bring us where we need to be. It always seems like it's going to get as absolute worst as it can get, but right on time, the Lord comes in. When you look at a hurricane, I forgot the name of it, one of the largest hurricanes come through the Bahamas and the East Coast, breaking records. They say that the hurricane, if you can see my hand, if you got the eye of the storm, that's the most peaceful, calm spot near the storm that you can be. The worst is when you get right next to that edge of that eye. That's the worst place it can be, because it's obviously the dead middle of the storm. But when you get in that centerpiece and the storm passes over you, that's the most calm, peace area you'll ever have in your life. And sometimes we got to have that in our life to build up who we're going to be moving into whenever we're having difficult times. It might be building us up into a new person. It looks like y'all got some strong men, some young strapping lads in here. You got some big old muscles on you. I know some football players in here. Whenever you work out, if y'all's going to work out my arm muscle, if I'm lifting weights all day, what I'm doing whenever you're doing that, every time, a little science thing, I thought this is so crazy. When you work out a muscle, you're actually creating those little cellular level tears in your muscles, and you're pulling them apart, and you're stretching it out a little bit and hurting. Not tearing the muscle, that hurts. But this is on just a tiny little level. You stretch that arm out, you stretch the muscles out, and you kind of break them down just a little bit. But when your body comes and sends those proteins back in, it actually comes back and builds it just a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger every single time you put that in. Today, we might be dealing with some things. We might be getting torn a little bit and strewn out a little bit, but God's just saying, hold on just a minute. Hold on just a second. I'm building you up. Let me keep building you up in bigger faith. It's hard for me, in my experience, it's always harder for me to exercise my faith. Let me reword that. It's harder for me to build more faith when I don't exercise my faith. When I turn to God, I grow in God. Whenever I say, God, I need more patience. God, can you help me gain more patience? God's going to help me get more patience. Y'all know how that goes. You say, God, please, I need some patience. God will send things and help you build that patience and help you test it, rebuild it, and get stronger in it. And that happens with everything in life. If we're dealing with some difficult times, we got to say, God, help me take this one ingredient that I'm taking. God, help me see the big picture. Help me not just to take this one thing and focus and get tunnel vision on this bad situation in my life. And help me grow however I can, however you want me to be. In Deuteronomy 31:6, God's talking to Moses. He's telling him, he says, to be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave nor forsake you. And all these tests and all these trials and these storms that we're dealing with in life, God's always going to be with us. He's always going to be focused on, he's going to have his hand around us and say, just hold on a second. Just let me just work you through this. He says, I know it's going to hurt. I know it's going to sting a little bit. So just hold on just a second. I promise. I'm making something so much bigger in your life. And I'm going to be taking you to a new level. God's allowing these tests and these things to come into our life because he's molding us. Whenever a potter's making a pot or a cup or whatever a potter wants to make, he puts it on that clay. He puts that clay on that wheel and it spins around. And if I was on that wheel, I know I wouldn't want to be spinning around it however fast. And they put that water and they mold it up. And even though it's probably uncomfortable for that piece of clay, God's saying, just hold on, let me mold you what I need you to be. Let me make it around what I need you to be. And it hurts, and it stings sometimes. Me personally, I'm not a blacksmith by no means, but I make knives, and I have a little propane forge, and I make sometimes I make a tiny sword, or, just little cool trinket things. And I like to think of it as whenever I take a blank piece of round steel, that's probably that long, I can make it into whatever knife we need it to be. And I like to think the Bible uses the potter and the clay. I like to think of the steel and the fire. God might say, hold on. He says, all right, if I'm the piece of steel, he's saying, Dakota, this is going to hurt. He said, just hold on just a second. He said, I'm sorry, but just give me 1 second. Let me put you in here. And I'm screaming, but God, it hurts. It's so hot in here. God, it burns. It's over 2,000 degrees in here. He says, hold on 1 second. He goes, I said, I'm sorry, just 1 second. Let me just make you to what I need you to be. And he'll take a hammer and he'll draw you out into that beautiful shape of what you need to be. And I'm saying, God, why is these bad things happening to me? God, I can't take this no more, God. He says, just 1 more minute. He puts me back in the fire. And he keeps repeating the process over and over. And at the end of the day, there's something I can feel like it takes over years of what God's put me in the fire and what he's testing me, building me up of what I need to be. And he says, now look. He says, you were little in your faith, but now look. He says, you're this beautiful work of art that I've turned you into be. God will he can take any negative thing in our life. He can take anything that we feel like it's hurting us. And we're like, God, I can't bear none of this. But we have to trust God and his master plan. We have to know that God's always going to be around. And I'm sure we know that. We're all confident that. But we have to exercise and say, God, he says, I'm not going to focus on the fire you put me in now. He says, God, I'm just going to wait, and I'm going to endure and hold on to you until this storm's over. I'm going to tie a knot in the end of my rope and just hold on and not let go. We got to trust God. He's always going to bring us out of what we need to be. Job, we're familiar with the story of Job. Amen. This man the Bible says he was righteous and upright. He was a man without blame. Job had it going on. He was in my perspective, going into a life, me trying to be a young adult and a man and growing into who I need to be, Job sounds like the kind of guy that I wanted to be. He sounds like he's got it on. He's got a great big family. He must have had a lot of land, a lot of great possessions, but he's a man of God, and he was always, never let it affect him. But then one day, the devil come along and he talks to God, and these tests come to Job. He loses everything he has. I'm not going to go into huge detail about it, but Job loses all of his cattle, his entire family. He loses all of his children, his home, slaves, everything, all of his servants and everything he has. And even Job's best friends come over to God, Job's best friends come to Job and they're saying, just curse God. How are you holding on so hard? Why are you still holding on? Even Job's own wife says, are you still clinging to God? Are you still praising him? She said, just curse God and die. And that don't seem like the kind of positive message I feel like that should come out of your spouse. But whenever the devil comes along, he can use, if God's allowing him, he can use anything he wants to turn around. He can use your health. He can use your friends. He can try and use your family to turn against you. I've got distant family who's, I'm not bad-mouthing none of them, but I've had some distant family that I don't see too often. When I come and we talk to them and tell them I'm a Christian and everything, when I met them, they didn't agree and they try to turn me away. The Satan can try and use anything in the world that he wants to use. And I said, if God's allowing him to try and turn around against you. As I was reading the story of Job, I said he lost his children, all of his cattle, all of his possessions. And I was thinking, now through all of this, if Satan could have took anything, he didn't take his wife. Now, I'm not married, but I would imagine losing a spouse is one of the hardest things you could go through. I was thinking, why wouldn't Satan want to take Job's wife from him? But then God shone a little light for me. Satan can use things to try and turn against you. He was trying to use Job's wife to try and turn around and even get him to curse against God. And so that shows just how creative and shifty and how Satan will try and turn these things around with you. Whenever we're going through our life, sometimes the things that we encounter don't always seem like positive situations. And sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's just the bad hand we got to be dealt with. But God will turn a good situation in our worldly sense is just nothing in the shining light of what anything God can do. When we have a bad situation, He'll turn around and make anything positive. Now, we're talking about y'all's youth today. I want to brag on y'all again. Y'all are just awesome group of kids. It is so great. I know anytime I've recently graduated, but whenever I'm at school, I know I can find several of these kids walking around, shining light, being good examples of what they need to be in school, and they always help me out with the FCA ministry in school. That's like a student church. Bryce and the Mitchells, they've always helped out so great, and several others with the ministries, and y'all do so great. But one of the things that are coming, I'm sharing this for Youth Sunday, is Satan, he loves to use this time in our lives, and y'all's guys' lives especially. I'm going to be talking to y'all. He's going to use this time in y'all's life when y'all are becoming adults. He's going to use and try and pervert the idea of the church and pervert the idea of what moving into life's all about. I was looking up statistics, and this is really scary, and I've experienced this myself. I'm not exempt from any of it. I'm no good than any other person in here. I've recently graduated and working full-time and moving and trying to find new jobs and careers and mixing with college and everything. It gets pretty distracting. I get distraught everywhere. And the only place that I can ever find peace is when I really come back to God and I'm saying, God, I don't know where I'm going to go in life. I don't know what I'm going to do. I said, I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to outwait your plan and just wait until you drop something in my life. And that way I know that I'm going to be doing the thing you need, but I'm going to be seeking out and always just looking for His face. But guys, it's scary. The Live Church put out a statistic. They said 66% of people between 18 and 23 drop out of church. I said, I can understand why. Life really starts hitting you in the face at this time. We get smacked with reality. And a lot of people drop out of church. And then another statistic said between 70% of those people don't plan on coming back to church. So 70% of the original 66 that dropped out of church don't plan on coming to church ever again. That is 46% of the youth in a church. So imagine looks like y'all are evenly divided. Imagine taking this whole 2 front rows and they're gone. That's a scary, scary thought. If you're not, when these youth don't, and they just out. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's so disheartening and saddening to think of how the devil can come and he can turn and completely ruin a person's life with one decision that they make. Amen. The devil took one decision for the bite out of a fruit and turned the entire course of humanity. I said, it's scary to me, but it's so encouraging to come here and see all these young adults moving up, I know y'all do an awesome job of coming in and showing these young, the church babies, of how to come up right in life. Well, we got to focus on doing that for the whole community. Because while it says 66% of the youth is going to drop out, we got to think of what percent of youth is actually in church, which I would probably say is about half and half, based on my experience. But Satan is so good at turning and twisting these things around. I want to encourage you guys to always take notice and look at God in any situation. Take every single thought captive that comes in our minds and say, Lord, is this, what's going on here? Are you handing me some buttermilk, Lord? God, is this a little butter? Is this a large situation? Lord, what have we got going on here? Is this something that's coming straight from the devil? But these things, even though we always trying to understand what all's coming our way and what all we're dealing with in life, it's not our place to understand what's happening. It's not always for us to completely grasp the whole idea and see the entire puzzle. Sometimes we just got to have a piece, and we have to say, all right, Lord, you want me to put this one here? I'm going to leave it here. We got to go. He said we might have another cup of lard come our way, or another cup of flour, and say, Lord, I'm just going to take this puzzle piece. I'm just going to set it back in here. But we don't realize what we're doing is entirely building a puzzle piece that the Lord's got planned coming for us. And once it's done, it's so beautiful to see all the entire work and the entire life that God's built for us and the entire plan that He has really set in front of us. God is our Father. He's the three in one, but God is our Father. And He loves us like we're His own children, and then some. Amen. God has to make sure that we're going the way we need to be. And as a parent, I'm sure all the parents in here know that disciplining your child isn't fun. Now, I'm not saying God is disciplining us, but sometimes whenever they need to learn a lesson, they have to deal with a little belt, they have to deal with a little grounding, they have to deal with something that you don't want to do to them, but it benefits them in the long run. It says, hey, this is going to make them into a better person. My dad had a paddle he found at Trade Day. I got custom-made paddles, and it had attitude adjuster wrote into the side of it. And that thing was probably my worst enemy and my best friend. Because looking back, I'm so glad that I had a father that was smart enough to use that attitude adjuster on me and say, son, I don't want to do this, but you got to take some licks. He said, you being bad at school, he said, you got to learn to act straight. I said, but it hurts. I said, but looking back, I'm so glad that I got to deal with that pain and the suffering, that little 10 seconds of a pop that it was, that I'm so glad that my father showed me and had to say, look, this hurts, but just take it for a second. I'm so glad that my father steered me in the direction that I need to go and make me into the person that I am in today. Because I'm not a full manager, but I'm a shift leader at Chick-fil-A. And some of the children, I say children, they're my little babies, I call them. I'm only like 2 years older than them. But all these young kids that I have to instruct and train on how to be a good Chick-fil-A employee, I hate having to get on to them. But when I do it so often, eventually when I keep thumping, I say I thump them is what I call it. I don't like to use mean words. I say I'll thump you. But when I keep thumping them, I notice they get better and better each time. And it's so great whenever they get to be the perfect employee and they get to be the awesome kids growing up. And I feel blessed that I get to show and teach kids how to grow in their Chick-fil-A experience, but we relate that to our spiritual lives. It's so great to know that we have a loving God and a Father who's going to show and teach us the way that we need to be taught. Amen. Whenever we try to understand His plan, I said we're not going to understand His plan. It doesn't work. I can't even wrap my mind around the entirety of God. He's so vast, and it's so awestruck. Like, is this the state I'm in? I don't know how to use the words, But we have to have that faith and just trust that every single thing is just going to flow around and come exactly how He wants it to. It may not be how we want it, but the world doesn't roll on our time. It rolls on God's time. In Romans 8:38, it says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." That's probably the most reassuring verse we could ever read, or I could ever read, to just whenever I'm dealing in bad times, saying, God, I don't know what's going on here. What's happening? Why am I having to deal with all these bad times, Lord? I just know that in all things, I want to bolden that and underline it, in all things, good and bad, God's working for the good of those who love Him. And I'm sure every single one of us loves the Lord, amen? We all love the Lord. So anytime that we're dealing with getting that cup of flour, a cup of lard, we know that, say, God, this is some gross stuff right here, but hey, you're putting it together for your plan. It's going to work for the good one day. I wish I had time and the words. I'm not very good with words, but I'm just trying to do what the Lord wants me to do, to explain how I've seen His plan work through my life, how I've seen His plan bring me to the man that I am today, and in loving Him and in sharing it with others. I wish that I could show the entirety of my 18 years of what all God's done for me. And I want you to think that way too. I want y'all to think, what is God? Reflect on that for a minute. Just think, what is all these situations that I've had in life that seem so awful and so terrible? It seemed like it was hell on earth, like you would never get through it, that God somehow mirrored it and turned it back into something that's so grand and amazing. Amen. So that's what I want to share with you guys today. I want to encourage you, and especially encourage the youth. It's Youth Sunday. I think it's an amazing program that y'all have. It's an awesome thing to see an entire youth band and choir and everybody come on. That's just so great. But I want to encourage you guys so much. These next few years, y'all are going to get smacked around in the face with reality. It's going to be rough. I see everybody kind of nodding their heads. So y'all know y'all got them behind you, literally and figurative. Like, you've got the entire church behind you that's here to help you, and that's here to always help you grow. Because life is going through high school. It's an entirely different experience of trying to hold your Christian faith. It's not, how do I explain this? I'm not very good with words. I apologize. Whenever people come against you, it's not going to be, I always figured growing up, I always watched the DARE programs and everything. You guys know what I'm talking about. I always seen those videos, and I thought my biggest struggle in high school was going to be some dude following me to the bathroom and trying to force me to do drugs. I thought that was an actual thing. Like, I didn't know what to expect. But I discovered that going through high school it's not an open-faced difficulty. There's not going to be a clear opposition. It's going to be people and friends slowly trying to chip at you and chip away and get you to fall back to them and just be like everybody else. But guys, y'all know what this word says. We are not like everybody else. We are peculiar, I can't say the word, peculiar people. I didn't even say it right that time. I don't even know. But we are called to be set apart, guys. So don't fall in with the crowd. It's not worth it. I can tell you, setting yourself apart for Christ is the absolute best decision I've made and that you guys have ever made in your lives. So I want to encourage you, going through these next few years in high school, stay strong in the faith. Look back to the wise people in your church. Look to everybody you can. Talk to your pastor. Talk to your brothers, other brothers and sisters. Set up a Christian group chat. I know there's thousands of group chats people have. I'm in like 30, from work to old friends from school. Set up a Christian group chat. That is an awesome thing to do. I just want to encourage you guys with that so much, that to take these little ingredients that we're getting in life and look at the major picture that we're getting and always just fall back and just try and and let God work His plan throughout your life, and always just trust in Him so much. Because, guys, I can tell you, His plan is going to work out so much better than our plans. Amen. God's got something set apart for you that's going to be absolute perfection in your life for what He wants you to be. It may not be for what we want it to be, but guys, when we fall into the Lord's plan, it doesn't matter what we want, because I can promise you, once you're doing the Lord's work and what He wants you to do in your life, you're going to love it so much more than if you're working the job that you wanted to have whenever you're coming into high school. I can promise you that so much, guys. I thank you guys for having me this morning. I want to leave you with that, is to look and examine your lives and the ingredients that you're getting in life, and take them into consideration on what you're getting. And I want to leave you with the self-assessment challenge. I'm throwing a bunch of stuff at y'all, but I want to leave you with a self-assessment. Whenever you have your prayer time or your quiet time, whatever you want to do, ask God, say, God, where am I at? Are you handing me ingredients? Am I in the final days of my biscuit making time? Am I in the oven? Ask God where you're at, and He'll be able to show you and say, yeah, here's another ingredient. Maybe you need to add a little bit more flour, or whatever you need. And ask God to help you take these things and take them into His plan and understand just how to hold on and cling to Him more. So I thank you all for having me so much this morning. I'm going to turn it back over to Brother Bays and just leave y'all with that encouraging word.
You would, amen.